Let's bring in Jonathan Schanzer now. He is the Senior Vice President of Research at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies and a former counterterrorism analyst at the U.S. Treasury Department. So how would you assess, Jonathan, speaking of defending democracies, how would you assess U.S. support for Israel on this very tense night there?
Well, so far so good. We're hearing the right rhetoric coming out of the White House. I know there was some tension about whether or not Israel should have struck or shouldn't have struck that senior IRGC official last week. But I think Israel had very little choice in the matter, and I do believe the Biden administration has come to understand that, because the IRGC has been behind all of these strikes coming from the various militias, whether it's the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, the groups in Iraq and Syria. I would say that even more heartening right now, though, are reports that just came through from Al Arabiya, the Arabic news channel, just a few moments ago, suggesting that the U.S. has actually started to shoot down some of the drones that Iran fired in the skies over Iraq and Syria. This is, of course, good news because it means that they're being targeted before they reach Israeli airspace, before the Israelis have to deal with the question of whether they try to shoot down some of these missiles or drones in, for example, Jordanian airspace or Iraqi airspace, which could trigger some complexities with Israel's neighbors who may not want to take part in all of this. So to have the U.S. do this with the coordination of Central Command, of CENTCOM, I would say this is very good news indeed.
Do you think Iran made a bad gamble here, launching from its own territory toward Israel? Do you think that they somehow thought that President Biden's chiding of the Israelis to kind of back off in Gaza meant that there would not be vivid U.S. support for Israel in this circumstance?
Look, I think it was really a terrible misread on the part of the Iranians. The fact that the Biden administration was disagreeing with Israel over tactics in Gaza did not mean that the U.S. was willing to throw Israel under the bus as it relates to Israel's survival in the region or its overall strength vis-a-vis Iran or any of its proxies. So I think that right now they've made a terrible mistake by firing out of Iran itself. This has opened themselves up to attacks by Israel back into Iran of strategic targets. And that could include, by the way, some of those nuclear sites that the Israelis have been threatening to strike, as well as other strategic targets that the Iranians would be loath to see destroyed. And of course, the Israelis have tech that would allow them to hit with greater precision and to be able to enter into Iranian airspace more undetected than I think whatever Iran is going to try to pull off here right now.
All right, Jonathan Schanzer. Jonathan, thanks for your expertise.
My pleasure.